It looks less like a free trade agreement than a pre-committed purchase agreement that overturns every principle of reciprocity. No major economy has ever neutralized its own trade leverage in this manner. Now, I do want to say that when the two ministers play ping-pong with each other, saying it's not in their mandate to answer the question, each one attributes it to the other, then that looks like a rather disappointing game. I can't not mention the new interim trade agreement with the United States, sir, because that has just come out after the minister's speech. It looks less like a free trade agreement than a pre-committed purchase agreement that overturns every principle of reciprocity. How can we speak of a reciprocal tariff of 18% on one side and 0% on the other? At a time when India's total bilateral trade with the US stands at roughly 130 billion US dollars, and we have a trade surplus of only 45 billion US dollars, we have surprisingly promised to buy $500 billion worth of American goods over 5 years. This effectively converts a surplus into a long-term deficit by executive assurance rather than by market demand. No major economy has ever neutralized its own trade leverage in this manner. While the US continues to impose import tariffs of up to 18%, we have committed ourselves, apparently according to this joint statement that I've been seeing here, joint US-India statement, to impose tariffs up to 18% on Indian exports and we to slash tariffs to near zero levels, open agriculture, dilute data localization, soften intellectual property safeguards, and even redirect strategic energy imports, especially away from Russia, to meet purchase targets. Now, this is not strategic balancing, it is economic preemption. Parliament has neither been told how farmers, MSMEs, and domestic industry will be protected, nor why India has voluntarily surrendered its negotiating power without securing proportional market access. Without securing proportional market access or policy space in return. I know the government will say, wait for the final agreement, it's coming in mid-March, but let them be aware these concerns exist right now, sir. Yes. The government's claim that India has secured a better deal than China, Vietnam, or other Asian economies does not withstand scrutiny. While India has obtained a tariff reduction of 1 or 2 percentage points from them, no East Asian economy has agreed to deliberately dilute its trade surplus with the US through guaranteed purchase commitments. On the contrary, China, Vietnam, and several ASEAN countries have actually expanded their trade surpluses with the US, even amid heightened trade tensions. And this ambiguity, Mr. Chairman, has a direct bearing on the credibility of the budget itself. When both the Minister of Commerce and Industry and the Minister of External Affairs were questioned on these commitments, they were really offered no clear explanation of their scale, timeline, or fiscal implications. Now, the reason I mention this in the context of the budget is that key budgetary assumptions on trade balances, external financing needs, and overall macroeconomic stability rest on information that the Parliament does not possess and has not been given. A budget framed amid such uncertainty is not just incomplete, it asks this House to approve numbers without knowing the obligations that may soon overtake them from this trade agreement. Now, I do want to say that when the two ministers play ping-pong with each other, saying it's not in their mandate to answer the question, each one attributes it to the other, then that looks like a rather disappointing game, because when no minister claims ownership of something like this, accountability disappears, and Parliament is left staring at a budget that conceals obligations that the government seems to lack the courage to admit openly.